all of us certainly that are here. By the way, there are more than 100 of us here, so that's really great to see so many people. So applaud yourself a little bit for just being here. Our next speaker is Dr. Sagi Snir. He's a professor of computational evolution at Haifa University and the president of the Israeli Society of Bioinformatics and Computational Biology. Sagi received his PhD in computer science and algorithms from the Technion, and his postdoc research was done at USC Berkeley. His research is characterized by ample collaboration with researchers from broad disciplines under the general framework of systematic analysis of evolutionary processes aiming to find biologically significant patterns. In essence, Sagi is using small trees to reconstruct the big tree of life. So thank you, Dr. Sagi Snir, and where are you? Oh, here you are. And he's visiting right now for the summer in the United States.
Michael, I was wondering where you extracted all this information.
Okay, I gave it to you.
The internet. Where did you? Yeah. So that's actually correct. Except that not from my postdoc is not from USC, rather from Berkeley. Anyway. Okay, yeah. So let me speak. So I wrote something in short notice, but okay. So exactly 2 years ago, I spoke here a speech criticizing the coup d'état about politicization in academia. How naive we were back then. The streets in Israel were full of protesters. One speaker before me, Professor Dan Simon, that many of you know him, so from USC even claimed, and rightly so, that thanks to Netanyahu, a huge part of the people of Israel who had fallen asleep in their shift suddenly woke up, discovered their strengths and the righteousness of their way. At least for me, there was a real feeling of euphoria. I really waited to return to Israel to take part in the demonstration. I mean, everyone here that was in Israel in the demonstration could have felt the strength and the solidarity of this huge campaign, huge part in Israel that demonstrated. Suddenly we united. As my role as the president of the National Association for Computational Biology, a body that unites researchers, professors and students, past and present, who are the research and development front of a huge part of Israeli high-tech. And you know what is high-tech in Israel. So I have formulated a call to all members of the association, huge association now in Israel, the high-tech, the biotech group, the biotech front, and we call on the government to stop the anti-democratic legislative steps for three main reasons that are seriously harming the future of biomedical research in Israel. First, the return of scientists from abroad to Israel, the halting of research funds and collaboration with Israeli researchers, and third, stopping foreign industrial investment in Israeli high-tech. I sent the email after a long time of processing it, and I sent the email for approval to the committee, to the board of members, at 6:19 on the morning of October 7, 23. 6:19, I have that email. And I went out to my Shabbat open water swimming at Rosh Hanikra. And at 9 a.m., I received the first and last response email from our board member representative from Ben Gurion University. And she said, yes, an excellent idea. 6:19, October 7th. Who would have believed where we came in those 2 years since then? A government lacking skills and experience, drunk on power due to a ridiculous majority in the Knesset, ignoring all the warnings given to it, and especially the split in the people of Israel, the split of the unity. I am not a military or political expert like some that spoke here. Therefore, I will only touch on the moral aspect, which I am also not an expert, and will try to reflect the feeling in Israel. I am expert, the feeling in Israel. We are rapidly approaching 2 years since the disaster, Netanyahu's disaster. Who would have believed that a government that failed so bluntly and unequivocally, that was utterly paralyzed immediately after the disaster, that is recorded on its name, that falsified meeting minutes, that did not take responsibility for any failure related to that Netanyahu's disaster, and especially did not support in any way the tens or perhaps hundreds of thousands of victims of its failures. Who would have believed that such a government would still survive? What does this reflect on our moral level to the citizens? Okay, I will mainly focus on very short 3 points. That the points that were pointed out here. A mother wants to know why her son was murdered at the Nova party. A father wants to know why his soldier daughter was left helpless at the base where she served. The refusal to appoint a state investigation committee is a punch in the face for those citizens who feel so hurt. And we are talking about so many people that were somehow hurted from that government's faults. 2, the treatment of the kidnapped and the treatment to the kidnapped and their families is among the worst dreading imaginable. If it were not for the support from the public, they would have been left to their own devices. And this, of course, includes the attempt to not release the kidnapped themselves, where we at the association, my association that I'm heading, have sent statement to this issue, okay, to all that association. Third, and finally, the prolongation of the war, the terrible harm of uninvolved civilians, a sharp decline in the moral level of IDF, the Tzahal, okay, with manifestation of cruelty. Soldiers are killed for no purpose, solely to continue the state of war, endless war that gives the leadership justification for its failure in every aspect. Every slogan such as complete victory, together we will win, ביחד ננצח, וניצחון מוחלט, it's so upsetting, are thrown to the air to obscure the lacking of a plan or goals. I do not want to elaborate on all these 3 points I mentioned or go into detail about them, but each of them seriously harms the social and moral cohesion of the people living in Israel, which is the real secret of Israel's survival, including Agnan, that our survival, all this collaboration, all this unity, Arabs and Israel, Arabs and Jews, this is Israeli unity, Israel power. That Israel, okay. The secret to Israel's survival in all crises. I also do not want to mention the consequences stemming from the 3 points I mentioned. These are the damages themselves, the cohesion of the people and their moral level, which are the great disaster of this detached government that continues to celebrate and ignore these exhausted people from the situation it has found itself in through its own form. Let me just very, very briefly. So 2 years ago, I spoke about the academia, and I spoke about a person that in 2016 he was the vice chief of staff, Yair Golan, and he said something that at that time was so unacceptable. Nowadays it is so clear. It was like a prophet. Yair Golan is for so many of us the right leader, the moral leader, and we support him so much in Israel, all that camp here. And that's it.